And we are live.
I feel like it's been a long time since you said that.
I know, that was an intentional choice.
Wow.
Yeah, because we're back into the swing of things. We're doing the good old regular content swap. And this week's matchup is super random. And that's kind of the essence of what's supposed to happen. So it just felt like the right time. We are live.
Yes.
What's going on? What's new? What's happening?
Nothing. We're going to see Black Panther tonight.
Yes, we are.
Woo-hoo.
Right after this, really. We're going to finish this, and then we're just going to hop in the car and go. So hopefully this doesn't go too long. I think we've given ourselves enough time.
Yeah. We got about 2 hours.
Before we have to leave.
A little less than 2 hours.
I think we have like an hour 45 minutes. So
yeah.
Hopefully we don't take that long on this. But
yeah.
So we're here to talk about two completely different movies today. We're going to start with what you assigned me and then get into what I assigned you. So
let's do it.
Let's just do it. All right, let's go. We're going straight into it. No Thanksgiving talk this week.
No.
I say that like we got negative feedback or
no, I really
Thanksgiving
enjoyed that
backlash.
Part.
Yeah, it was fun.
Part, yeah.
That was a lot of fun. All right, well, yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. So this week you assigned me to watch this movie from 2014 called Love, Rosie. It's a rom-com movie. It stars Lily Collins, the eyebrows girl.
I get it.
Yeah, she's very well-defined eyebrows. That's like her defining feature. That sounds really shallow. But that's just, that's how I've kind of like always remembered her.
She has a face you can, a face that's distinct.
Yes, with eyebrows. All faces have eyebrows. All right, I'll get off the eyebrow train. And it also stars Sam Claflin, who you may know from Hunger Games and other rom-com-y style movies.
Okay, I looked this up because I was like, how many rom-coms is he actually in the whole roster of his work? He's only in like 4 rom-coms out of the 34 projects that's listed on his IMDb. So he's really not even in that many rom-coms.
Okay, so he's been in 4?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Out of 34 projects.
Okay, but how many of those, every time you look at an actor's projects on their IMDb, some of them are like small, like maybe they're in one episode or something. Like of the movies that he has done, how many of them were rom-coms? That's the answer that I really want to know. I think 4 rom-coms is actually quite a bit for someone to be in.
What do you mean?
We had a whole debate this week about Sam Claflin's career, right?
Yeah.
Like he hasn't been in any Marvel movies. He hasn't been in any, DC movie. Like he hasn't played a comic book character. He hasn't played a Star Wars character. I guess my point being,
but I hate that that's your like.
No. That's not my barometer for success. But it just kind of thinking within the context of modern day actors. Like he hasn't been in. His one blockbuster franchise that he was in was like The Hunger Games. And then outside of that, he's never been nominated. So.
Are you sure?
Yes. So I think I feel like those 2 categories of like been in a blockbuster movie or been nominated for something. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay. I didn't know that. I think he was in
Snow White and the Huntsman. He's in The Hunger Games.
All right, but are any of those like good? All right.
He's in Enola Holmes.
Okay, you know what? I will.
He's in Last Night in Soho.
I'll shut my mouth then. I guess he's been in real things. I just kind of always I haven't. Full disclosure, the only of any of the things that you just said, the only ones that I've said is The Hunger Games. And I don't really know if I think the other things are that good. I've heard semi-decent things about Enola Holmes, but I'm pretty sure he was in Pirates of the Caribbean 4, which I haven't seen.
On Stranger Tides is the one he's in.
It's the 4th one. And that's like after Pirates stopped being good. So, and then Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah. And The Huntsman Winter's War. Which
they're
the part that's a series.
They brought him back for the sequel. Oh.
Yeah, he's in all the Hunger Games, the last 3 movies.
I mean, no disrespect to Sam Claflin. I do.
He's in the new Charlie's Angels.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're not really.
Last Night in Soho was an interesting movie. I enjoyed that movie.
You're not doing him justice.
He didn't have a big role in that movie, though.
Well, my point being, I do like Sam Claflin. I think he is a good actor. I don't think my mom would know who he is, but yeah, I do like him. I'm not trying to knock him. I'm just pointing out that he's never been nominated, and the blockbusters that he's been in have not been super crazy. Or
I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
He's not anything that's like super memorable in my opinion,
Yeah.
but I am getting on to you because I don't think, like, when you make the point about, like, oh, they're not in a DC movie, they're not in a Marvel movie. And I'm like, honestly, all the actors that are in these roles, they're not great actors. Aside from, and maybe this is my own biases, I do think the actors of Black Panther are phenomenal actors. But, like, to me, Chris Hemsworth, he's not a great actor. Robert Downey Jr., he's not the best actor.
That's not supposedly my point. I think my point, I'm talking about name recognition.
I guess you do get on. You definitely get on a big platform when you come into those things. But in terms of like status as an actor, I don't like to go by that because
Let's flip this. Let's talk about Lily Collins for a quick second.
Yeah.
What else has she been in? She's in that new
Emily in
Paris. Yep.
She was in
I knew that
terrible movie with Taylor Lautner. I forget what it's called.
That's rough.
I don't think she's a great actress either.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. If you asked me which
she
of
was
the
in
two,
The Blind Side.
Yeah, I remember her in that.
Yeah.
If you asked me right now, based on my current impressions of both of them, which of the two is more talented, I would probably say Lily
Sam
Collins.
Claflin.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that coming.
Yes.
All right.
I without a doubt much prefer to watch Sam Claflin things than Lily Collins things.
Okay. Emily in Paris. That's a show.
Yes.
Is it on Netflix?
It is. It's not a great show.
People watch it though, right?
Yes, but it is not a good show.
See, I think being in a show that people watch, regardless of whether it's good or not, is its own barometer for success.
But if you look at her IMDb page, she's actually in nothing. The only things that she's in that like people might know is Emily in Paris.
Okay. Oh,
Love
wow,
Rosie.
that's it.
The Mortal Instruments, which I've never seen The Mortal Instruments.
Okay.
Mirror Mirror, which is a like Snow White movie.
It's the other Snow White movie.
Yeah. Abduction, which is the one with Taylor Lautner.
Oh,
and The Blind Side.
yeah,
and that's
Abduction.
literally all she's in that's like noticeable.
Noteworthy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, yeah,
You just think she's pretty.
Well, my perception's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
But I did have this perception that she was a little bit more in the big leagues than he is.
Oh no, Sam Claflin's got her beat
Really?
by a landslide.
Shoot. Okay. Well, I like both of them. I hope I wish them both success. They were both very good in this movie.
I really like this movie.
Oh my god. She put on a British accent for this movie, so
she is British American. Was born in the UK.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I guess one of her parents is British.
Oh,
one of her parents is American.
Okay, yeah.
When she was born in the UK, however, in real life she does have an American accent. I'm assuming she grew up mostly here. So.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, she does a phenomenal British accent.
At least there's that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so we've laid out who the actors are. There's a rom-com here waiting to be discovered by the listener.
Yeah.
So these two characters, we have Rosie and Alex. Rosie and Alex are childhood best friends. They grew up seemingly doing everything together. And on Rosie's 18th birthday, she got very drunk because the legal drinking age in Britain is apparently 18. She got very drunk and they both kissed. But then she immediately passes out. She ends up getting her stomach pumped that night and seemingly does not remember anything. Well, actually, no, it is clarified. She does not remember anything. Alex, however, does remember that they kissed. And there seems to be a little bit of a, heart palpitation for him about that fact. Mm-hmm. So he clearly has, some type of feelings going on there. Mm-hmm. But she's she doesn't know that they kissed. So she's kind of like, nah, go hit on the hottest girl at school. Mm-hmm. Because he's in like study hall or something with this most popular girl, and she's been making looks at him. So Rosie is encouraging Alex, like, go after that girl. And then
Well, I think you're missing a key part here. She doesn't remember the kiss, but he isn't sure what she remembers. Because she doesn't say, like, oh, I don't really remember, right? She doesn't say, like, I don't remember anything. And so she's like, oh, that was so embarrassing. Like, we can't tell anyone about last night. And so he's kind of like, oh, is she talking about, like, our kiss? Like, is she, like, ashamed of it?
That's right.
And so, yeah. And so
he didn't, that's right. Because we do find out later that he didn't know that she didn't remember.
Yeah. And so, so then he's kind of like, oh, shoot, I guess she doesn't have, like, the same kind of, feelings I do.
Yeah.
And so that's when he's like, oh, maybe I'll talk to, like, the most popular girl in school. And then because he's saying that, she's also like, oh, shoot. Well, yeah, I guess so, if that's what you want,
That's right. And because they're best friends, their plan was to go to this, like, dance together. It seems like it's supposed to be, like, senior prom equivalent. Mm-hmm. But they keep referring it to it as the school dance. Mm-hmm. So they were going to go together, but then, he's like, okay, maybe I will go talk to this, super attractive girl. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, she's got this, like, guy, Greg, who's been hitting on her a little bit. So she's like, yeah, I guess I'll go with him. He does have a nice body, so why not? That's they're like 18, so that's what they're caring about right now the most, it seems. There doesn't seem to be much regard for the personality of the date.
They're teenagers.
Yeah, it's all about how attractive they are. So let's see. Oh yeah, I just go straight to it. So he ends up spending a lot of time with this girl,
Bethany,
thank you. So he ends up spending a lot of time with Bethany. They kind of become involved. He ends up losing his virginity to her. And when Rosie finds out about that, she's, like, upset.
Yeah.
Because turns out, there was a little feelings going on her end as well. Mm-hmm. So already some heart-wrenching material. Like, oh no, like, they're supposed to be together. Like, you as a viewer, you already know they are supposed to be together, but they are not. Oh no. So Rosie at the school dance with her date Greg ends up hooking up, and by hooking up I mean doing the deed. More vague words. The thing that you do that allows a baby to come into this world. Now, it's called sex.
Okay, just get to the point.
Sorry. So they do that, but I'm just gonna, okay, we can be responsible and talk about sex here, okay? I try to keep this family friendly, but this is important to the story. So they are using protection, but Greg is very quick with how he applies the protection, and the protection ends up kind of getting lost, and that protection then being lost ultimately results in Rosie getting pregnant.
Oh, you just, like, jumped right to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Oh, well, so she doesn't... All right, my bad. She doesn't know that she's pregnant. She doesn't know that as a result of this whole incident that she is pregnant.
And she had taken a morning after pill.
She did take a morning after pill.
So she thinks she's all good.
Yes. She thinks she's all good. Alex starts saying, hey, you know what? Let's get out of our hometown. Let's go to Boston, Massachusetts in the United States of America. And he wants to get a scholarship at Harvard so that he can go become a doctor, surgeon, MD person. Mm-hmm. And she wants to go into hospitality and have her own hotel one day. Mm-hmm. And Boston University, which is pretty close to Harvard, supposedly has a good hospitality program. So she applies there, she gets in, then she finds out that she's pregnant pretty much like right after that.
Can I just say, I was dying internally so she, like, goes to Alex's house to tell him that she got into Boston. He's like with Bethany doing their thing. And so then once she realizes that's what's happening, she throws up in her purse because she's pregnant. And you were like, why is she throwing up?
No, I mean, I realized like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, once she went to the pharmacy, you were like, oh.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because you're like, why'd she throw up?
Yeah. Well, she finds out. Okay. She finds out that she is pregnant. She goes to tell Alex. Alex is hooking up with Bethany at the time, but they end up getting together to meet. And before she can tell Alex, Alex tells her that he got his scholarship to Harvard. And she has this whole internal thought process where she kind of realizes, if I tell him that I'm pregnant, he won't go and pursue his dreams. I'll just make him think that I'm going to meet him too, because he's got a plane ticket. He's already on his way to get there in a couple of weeks. And I'll just make him think that I'll be there in a couple weeks later, and everything will be all good. And she plans to put the baby up for adoption once she has it, and then go to Boston, apply late, and start during the winter. So she has the baby. There's a midwife, a social worker. They're all like at her house, ready to take the baby, and she decides after holding the baby that she wants to keep it. And she names it Kate. She names her.
Names it.
She names the baby Katie, and it's a girl. So, let's see. So she becomes a mom, and she's, out strolling. And, she's living with her parents, and her parents are very supportive, very nice people. And she runs into Bethany on the street. And Bethany basically then goes and tells Alex. Oh, and Alex and Bethany, I guess they broke up because he went to, he went to Boston and Bethany stayed. So they broke up. But Bethany tells Alex that Rosie, that Rosie had a baby, and Alex then shows up and he's like, oh, I'm in town for the weekend. But then he basically just lets her know, I know you're pregnant. Why didn't you tell me? They have that whole conversation.
Which, who flies all the way to the UK for a weekend?
Yeah, that's what he says. It's oh, I'm just home for the weekend. And it's
by the time you get there, it's time to go home.
Yeah. No, for real. I mean, it is East Coast to the UK. It's about the shortest possible distance crossing the Atlantic.
How many hours is that?
Oh, I don't know. But I just imagine not as long as it could be. Now, let's see. Where are we? So he asks to be the godfather, and she's like, I would love that. And then he ends up going back to Boston, and they're living their lives separately. He ends up getting into a relationship with this blonde girl in Boston, and Rosie is raising Katie, her daughter. And some time passes, and we find out that Rosie's now a maid at a hotel, so she's not quite running her own hotel yet, but she is working in the hospitality industry. And Bethany, it turns out, is on the cover of a magazine. She's become a cover model. That's her arc in this movie. So, Rosie, she's raising Katie. She's still kind of she's trying to live her life as a normal girl. She ends up hooking up with a guy who's a police officer at one point. It's kind of this cute little thing where she's Katie finds them, and she's like, oh, the police officer just needed to inspect some things. And it's and let's see. We get a snapshot. At this point, we get a snapshot of what's Alex's life like with this new blonde girl that he's in a relationship with. I don't remember her name, but
I don't either.
Yeah. But we basically get this glimpse that this girl kind of sucks. Hard.
Yeah.
She really sucks. I don't know if that's an appropriate way to phrase it, but she just sucks. She's mean. She's petty.
She's like one of those people who like wants to be perceived a certain way, have a certain lifestyle. And so she's like very particular about things, very just like uptight.
Yep.
And yeah, just like finds the fault in everything.
Yes. Which is tough. I mean, especially if you are living with that person and they have that high expectation of you and you're not on the same page as them, that's very difficult relationship dynamic to navigate. So Rosie, let's see. He sends a text to Rosie. So at this point, for me as a viewer, having this conversation with his girlfriend that's like informing us like, oh yeah, she's not the best. Then he like that happens and then he texts Rosie saying like he misses her. And that's, I kind of figured like, oh, okay, he left that girl and now, Rosie comes and visits and they have a bunch of fun and they stay out all night and they go to his apartment and it turns out, no, he is still in a relationship with this woman. And it's like, that's kind of weird. And they have dinner and, oh man.
Wild dinner.
They have a very wild dinner. Turns out this woman is pregnant. Bum, bum, bum. So it's like, oh man, like, whoa, these two are never going to get together. So...
And Rosie's like, what the heck, dude? You didn't tell me this.
Yes,
and
we stayed out all night, and you have this
Yeah.
pregnant girlfriend waiting for you at home.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
And he's... Yeah, so he's clearly like... I believe it was, he found out she was pregnant, and then he's like, I need to hit up Rosie because that's like his rock. And this girl is clearly stressing him out. So, they spill something during dinner and he goes, oh, bollocks. And she says, language. And then he says the F word. And then she yells, why can't you say fudge? And then him and Rosie look at each other and just start cracking up because that's just such a ridiculous thing for somebody to be like so high strung about.
Yeah.
And then the girl just has a meltdown and like peels the
literally rips the tablecloth
with like everything on it. And it's like, yo,
like therapy.
Yeah.
ASAP.
So I'm like, man, poor homie. He is stuck. Like that's rough.
I mean, I do want to say though, he was in the wrong in terms of like being out with Rosie.
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah.
Like when you're having issues, the best thing is never to go to another, like if a guy's having an issue with his girl, don't go to another girl to like comfort you and that sort of thing, because that's gonna be like an even bigger issue. And it's like,
it's his
you gotta
closest,
talk about it with your...
What about it is he needs to confide in his closest friend. He should have communicated better to his closest friend in a more immediate sense of what was going on.
Well, yes, but also it's good to communicate with your partner. Like that's where the issue is with you and your partner. I feel like in my own personal opinion, I shouldn't drag someone else into it or like run to that other person, especially if there was something that's like you had feelings for that person.
Yes, but
you get what I'm saying? Enough. Like if me and you had a fight and your first instinct is to go to this person who you used to have feelings for and talk about and like just be with them and like not address me me, then like wouldn't that be weird? Don't you think?
I mean, yes. Sure, like it would be weird, but at the same time, I think the part that makes it weird is the fact that it's somebody that he used to have feelings for. I don't think it's the fact that she's female or anything like that. I think it is. No,
that's what
it is
saying.
weird
like, you
because
have some emotional tie to this
for
person.
Him,
yeah.
Well, I mean, emotional tie in the romantic sense, because if it's like your best friend who happens to be female, you absolutely go confide in that person. But if it's like he's escaping from his problems by going to this person that he used to have feelings for, yes, that is kind of like a shady thing to do.
Because it feels weird. It's like, oh, Rosie makes me the happiest. I want to be with her without, you know what I mean? Like type of thing.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I get it.
And it's like,
I also think that he wouldn't do that unless he really knew. Like, I absolutely have no like emotional tie to this person I'm still in a relationship with, and I feel like he felt like he was stuck in that relationship because they were pregnant.
But like, even if you feel stuck in the relationship, I don't know. Like, there still has to be communication.
There still has to be communication. I'm just saying.
Or like, I don't know.
There comes a point with.
I mean, it's complex because she's pregnant.
It's complex because she's pregnant. It's also, I think, simplified by the fact that she's crazy. Mm-hmm. So.
Rough.
Like, what if he was in a relationship with what's her face from The Roommate?
Rebecca?
Yes. What would you be saying then?
I'd really get the heck out of that relationship.
All right. See, and that's what that's how I'm viewing the situation that he's kind of stuck in.
So then he's got to get out of the relationship, not run to Rosie, and then still stay with this person. You know what I mean? Because it's just dragging now you have two people you're dragging along because you can't figure out what to do.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think he's fully in the clear. Like, it sucks that he's in that position. And, like, his girlfriend is wild and, like, definitely needs to see a therapist. But at the same time, like, you do have choice. And, like, you can't just pull two people along because you don't want to make a choice.
Yeah. Okay. I think all of that makes sense. And I think that, I mean, that does play itself out in the movie, in that Rosie gets upset with him.
Yeah.
Like, immediately after that.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight. And he's like, well, you know what? Like, I'm going to raise this kid with her, and it's going to have two parents, not one. So suck it.
Oh, my heart. I was ready to fight him.
Yeah. That was like, ooh, not good.
I was like, how dare you say that to your best friend? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To anyone, but like especially your best friend. Mm-hmm. Trash.
High trash moment.
And like majority of the movie, I like he sucks. It's like I love him, but he sucks.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, they have their falling out, and soon after that, Greg, the father of Katie, the one that got Rosie pregnant at the beginning of the movie, he pops back up. Because apparently, as soon as he found out that she was pregnant, he got a job in Morocco and just like dipped and was just gone for years. And then I guess Rosie had sent him a drawing that Katie had made, and that like really spoke to him. And he said to himself, like, I want to go and try to be a father to this little girl. And so they try to work it out. And he turns out to be pretty all right. Like, he's trying, and they like kind of become a family, and they end up getting married. Like, I mean, it plays out pretty quick in the editing, but like, I'm sure there was a little, over time. But let's see. Yeah, they get married, and she invites Alex, but he does not show up. His sister does, which is interesting.
I mean, if they've been friends since childhood, they're friends. Their families are friends.
Fair enough. You would think that he would communicate with his sister about like why he didn't go, or.
I mean, I think it's clear why he didn't go.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, so then we find out like, okay, so now we're back on Alex. He is moving. What's up with that? And I'm like, did they have the baby yet? What's going on with that? Rosie calls Sally. There it is. That's the blonde woman's name. I have it in my notes here. Rosie calls her, and it turns out that Alex and this woman had separated. And then, conveniently enough, her water breaks on the phone, and then she starts yelling out to Herb, who is, I forgot about Herb.
He's like this artist.
He's this artist. They earlier in the movie when Rosie was visiting, they went to Herb's like exposition
art show.
Yeah. And so she like yells out to Herb when her water breaks, and that's when basically Rosie finds out, like, okay, they separated, and she hits up Alex, and he's like, turns out she was cheating on me, and he's the father. He's like, it's fine. I wasn't ready to be a father anyway. And he's like sending that text while we are like looking at like a fully furnished child, like baby's newborn's bedroom that he was like ready to go on. So that's pretty heartbreaking.
Poor thing.
Yeah. And then soon after that, Rosie's parents, super awesome, super supportive. She's got the coolest dad in the world. He's like her best friend, basically. If not Alex, like her dad is her best friend. Her parents go on a vacation, and then she gets a call from her mom a few days later saying that her dad passed away. And Alex comes to the funeral, and they reconcile. And then Greg, who she's currently married to, kind of pops up, and he's drunk at the funeral, and that's when it's like, oh.
And being a butt.
No, Greg sucks. Yeah,
he's the worst.
So yeah, Greg's back on the sucking train, and we don't like Greg. And then, Alex is heading home, and he decides he's going to write a love letter, and he sends it, and it arrives. But Greg picks up the mail and sees that there's a letter to her, and he opens it, and he hides it from her. But at the same time, on the same exact day, for plot convenience, she also receives a letter from her dad that he wrote the day before he died, which makes me think that maybe her dad knew that he was going to die, because that's a very conveniently timed letter to be receiving or to have been written,
Wait, what?
Well, she receives a letter from her dad the day before he died.
Oh, well,
it's not clear how he died.
He's on vacation, and he's just writing her like letters as he's like going through his vacation.
I don't know any other dad that would do that.
I mean that's like such an atypical thing. Like, who would do that? But I don't know. Some people are like sentimental, and they're like, oh, they send postcards like, oh, I'm here, and like this is what I'm doing.
He wrote her a full like, I'm proud of you and your life and everything that you've done.
Maybe he just
this would be an ideal thing to send if I'm gonna die the next day, which he does.
Well, maybe he was just like in a place, taken aback by the beauty, and was like, oh, this is just making me think of so much and like reflecting on so much. And then he felt like he had to put it in a letter, and he sent it, and then he happened to die.
I respect that interpretation.
You never know.
You never know. It's not made clear, so who's to say? Well, aside from that, she gets money from her share of the house because her dad passed away, and she decides she's going to take that money and get her own hotel. Woo!
Yeah.
Following her dreams, which is great. And let's see. She's currently working as a maid still. And her best friend, the pharmacist with the red hair, who I've failed to mention up until this point.
I was wondering if you're ever going to bring her up.
Yeah.
I love her. She's so funny.
Her character is like, she kind of becomes her best friend throughout the movie while Alex is like, not there. Mm-hmm. And they first meet the night that she takes her pregnancy test, because this woman is working behind the counter at the pharmacy. And yeah, they become friends. They're working at the hotel together. And this woman basically tells Rosie one day, like, oh, we recently acquired another hotel, and I saw in one of their bookings that Greg, your husband, booked the bridal suite for 2. So, and Rosie's like, oh, for our anniversary? Ooh. And then, like, immediately after that conversation, conveniently for the plot, she gets a phone call from Greg, and he's like, hey, I have to, like, stay on my work trip for a little bit longer, for a few more days, so like I'm not going to be able to kind of like see you for a little bit, which then basically makes it quite clear, like, Greg is having his own affair. Greg, trash. We already knew that.
We knew that.
But yeah, but clear trash.
Yeah.
So she like finds him and like, I don't know, what did she like?
She decks him. She's
decks
like,
him. That's right. Yeah. So they separate.
Yeah.
And then she's like cleaning out her stuff from the house, and she finds Alex's letter that Greg had hidden in one of the drawers.
Which, like, if he was gonna like get rid of the letter? Why didn't he just throw it away? Why did he keep it?
As I've been saying, it's
Convenient.
convenience for the plot. So in this letter, Alex professes his love to her and basically says, Greg's trash, throw him out. And she is like, okay, I just read his letter. I love this man. And she reaches out and FaceTimes, and it turns out that he's getting married to who? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
You missed the whole part.
I missed the whole part. Back it up a little bit. She bumps into Bethany. I mean, that just gives it away. But she bumps into Bethany, and she, like, tells Bethany to hit up Alex because she's going to be in Boston.
Yeah.
And then, so, because she told her to do that, you know, fast forward, all this stuff's happening. She finally sees Alex's letter. She calls him, and it's Bethany on the other end. And then Alex shows up, and it's like, oh, we reconnected. We're getting married.
And they live together, too.
And they live together.
I would literally click off so fast and just cry.
Yeah, that's another Alex trash moment for sure.
Wait, well, how does that make him trash?
Because, like, he clearly loves Rosie, and
Oh, yeah, he's just, like, getting into these relationships.
he's just getting into these relationships and going for second best.
But then again...
And he's getting married to her.
But, to Alex's defense, he had sent that letter a while ago, never got a response. Granted, he probably should have texted her or something and been like, hey, did you get my letter? Yeah, but I guess he's like, I don't want to keep bothering her. I got to live my life. And then Rosie sent Bethany. I'm sure Bethany was like, Rosie told me to hit you up, you know? And so then it's like, oh, okay. Well, let's see where this goes.
All right. Well, she basically has this whole conversation with her redhead best friend. Not redhead, but red-haired. It's very dark. It's clearly dyed. It's a dyed color.
Yeah.
Anyway, her red-haired best friend.
Yeah.
And they have this whole conversation. Basically, she determines, I love this man, and so I'm going to go in, and I'm going to stop this wedding because that is my man. And she packs up all of her things. Her flight gets delayed by 5 hours, and which means, like, she has zero time to make it to this wedding. And as soon as they arrive, the wedding is over. The ceremony is done. So they have the party after the
reception.
The reception, thank you. And Rosie is like their best man. So she gives a best man speech. And it's a very I am deeply in love with you speech in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
Yeah. She's like, I love you.
Yeah.
As a sister.
No matter what. And at the end, she's like, as a sister.
But it's like very awkward. And even Bethany's like, where is she going with this?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
And so at this point, Katie's there, and they dragged along her best friend, who is like a boy that's her age. And throughout the movie, like Katie's like 12 at this point.
Yeah.
So she's like older. She's like 12 or 13. She's 12.
Something like that. I don't know.
But she's older, and she has this like boy best friend that she spends all of her time with, very much like Rosie and Alex did when they were younger. So Katie's boy best friend comes with them on this trip to the wedding in the States. Mm-hmm. And during the reception, Katie and this boy are like dancing, and he tries to kiss her, and she gets upset and like runs off. And Alex notices it, Rosie notices it, so they both follow after her. And they're like, hey, what's wrong? Like, I saw both of you, like, you both look great together. And she's like, it just wouldn't be right. It's like if you two kissed or something. And
Alex is like,
Alex is like, well, we did. Well, he didn't say that yet, but he's kind of, he gives this whole, like, you need to go realize how you feel about him and tell him now. Otherwise, he's going to end up, like, he's going to miss his chance with you, and then he's going to marry somebody else who he's not the wrong person.
Yeah.
And basically explaining his whole
life.
experience, his life.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, Katie then goes and kisses this boy, and it's very cute. And that's when Rosie's like, Alex, you... What do you mean? Did we kiss at one point?
No, that's not at all what she sounds like.
Okay, well, yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, but basically Rosie's like, what the heck are you talking
What
about?
are you
What was
talking
that?
about? Yeah.
What's going on? I'm missing something.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, actually on your 18th birthday, like we did kiss, and I wasn't sure if you remembered. She's like, oh, that's why you ended up going with Bethany, was because you thought that I did remember.
And was like rejecting
and
you.
was rejecting you, when in reality, he is just now realizing that she did not remember doing that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, he's still married. So
He just got married.
He just got married. So
know.
that's still there. But then, wait for it. We'll get there. Rosie gets her own hotel, like pretty much right after that. She opens up her hotel. It's opening day. And Katie...
It's such a cute hotel,
It's a very cute hotel.
I want to stay there.
Katie and her now boyfriend, Toby, that's his name, are just so adorable, doing everything together. And Rosie gets her first guest. And the guy who ends up being her first guest happened to be earlier in the movie when she's on the phone with Alex explaining what happened with the protection during the sex part. So it's like, oh, that's that guy. He's back. Like, he happened to be in the elevator overhearing that, and that was really awkward. Now here he is being her first hotel guest. That's nice, I guess. Sure.
It's like a cute callback to like where it all started.
Yeah, exactly. And so they take him up to his room, and then behind her, her friend takes him up to his room. Then behind her, we see, out of focus, but in the background, Alex.
Alex.
What? And he says he needs a room. And she asks if he has any baggage, which I liked how she phrased that.
You're like clever.
Because they're clearly, like, it's like, ooh, Alex is here. She's like, do you have any baggage? And he's like, none. He's like, yeah, I got none. And she's like, so your wife? And he's like, won't be joining. We both knew it wasn't right. And it's like, ooh, okay. So she takes him up to his room. He wants the sea view. And he tells her about a dream. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Alex has this thing where he like has dreams where he's in inanimate objects, and he like tells different people that he's in relationships with throughout this movie, and they're like, that's weird. But like Rosie thinks it's really endearing and cute. It's part of their friendship. Anyway, at the end of the movie, he's like, I had this dream, and she's like, oh, let me guess, you were a pencil, like, I don't know, something. And he's like, no, I was having a conversation with you, and we were here, and I don't know, I'm about to tell you I love you, something like that. But at the end of it, he's like, can I take you to the dance? And then they kiss, and then the music starts playing, the camera pans out, the end.
So cute.
It's a very cute movie. As I've said, my primary criticism with this movie is that everything is very convenient to the plot, but that's because it's a movie, and that's fine. That's what a movie's supposed to do. It's a very cute movie. I like. It was very refreshing to see like a rom-com that I'd never even heard of from like 8 years ago that was like actually entertaining, because my whole thought was that, like, I don't know, I think back on like those cheap rom-coms from the 2000s, like the one, I was about to name some that, and you're probably going to be like, what?
No, tell me.
Well, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days,
Yeah.
Failure to Launch.
I get that.
My best friend's
Basically
wedding.
every Matthew McConaughey.
Or not My Best Friend's Wedding. My Best Friend's Girl. My Best Friend's Wedding is good, but
My best friend's girl is. I don't know what that is.
that's the one with Dane Cook.
Oh.
And Kate Hudson. She's in that. So yeah, I thought when I think rom-com, I think of like that kind of cheapness. But 2014, like, this was good. I really liked this. It was cute. It's very, just
It's got some complexity to it.
it's got some complexity. Like it's got this constant like will they, won't they? Oh, life just throwing things and just hurdles, obstacles that it's just like they're not going to. And then at the end they do, but it's like it's not just like a perfectly wrapped up in a bow type of ending. It's like, yeah, well, like it did take years. She had a kid with someone else, and like it's not perfect, but they are, in the context of the story as it ends, it is perfect. And it doesn't need to be this like ideal, like neither of them were ever married and neither of them ever had any kids, and it's just like, vanilla from the get-go. It's like, no, it's very
rooted in
complex.
some like realism of like these life things can happen, and then you go on a different path and somehow end up reconnecting with someone or whatever, it's like that can really happen.
It was really cute, so I highly recommend it. That's my final thoughts.
Yay!
Thanks for
I'm glad you liked it.
Thanks for giving me that one.
Check
it out.
I don't really have too many fun facts. So this movie is actually based on a novel by an Irish author named Cecilia Ahern, I think is how you pronounce it. But the novel is called Where Rainbows End. However, if you read, the novel was like then produced in like the US, and it was called Rosie something, whatever her last name was or something like that.
Thanks. They got a lot of names.
Yeah. The novel takes place over the course of 45 years rather than 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So then in the words in terms of the film, I don't have too many fun facts, but I do have some facts just about like the people who are in the film.
Okay.
So actually both Sam Claflin and Suki Waterhouse, which I think I mentioned this in our Daisy Jones and the Six episode, they are both going to be in the new Daisy Jones and the Six series.
Yep.
Sam will play Billy, and then Suki Waterhouse will play Karen.
Yeah.
I already talked about like I brought up a note about like Sam Claflin's IMDb, like what he's been in. So I already talked about that, and then I already talked about most of these. So that's all I have.
All right, we're done.
I was like, wait a second, we already mentioned this.
Yeah.
So my last note was about Lily Collins being British and American.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so there wasn't too many facts. There is a scene in the movie, the scene where Alex comes to visit the first time and finds that Rosie now has a baby.
Yeah.
And we see like they have this scene where they're like both laying in Rosie's bed with the baby. The baby is asleep. That scene was like completely improvised. The baby happened to be asleep while they were waiting for like the next take. And so he was like, oh, this is cute. Let's film it. And so then they filmed that whole scene.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a specific fact. I like that.
Yeah. But that's all that I have. So, yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
All right.
Intermission. Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Okay.
What are we talking about now?
So now we're talking about a movie called Ip Man.
Ip Man.
It came out in 2008. So I talked throughout this whole movie.
You did. You probably
asked lots of questions.
Yes, you asked lots of questions. You took all of our podcast content and we just had a casual conversation about it.
I know.
Not recording the podcast.
Because this week has been so busy and we haven't chatted. And so then I got excited that we were sitting down together and I wanted to talk the whole time.
Yeah.
But basically, so this movie starts off with this man, Ip Man. You said his last name is Ip?
Yes. I mean, it's his family name. I wouldn't call it his last name because it comes first, right?
Got you.
But yeah, Ip is his family name.
Got you. So we're introduced to this man who lives in a really nice house, and he's hanging out with his family. I might have skipped something in the beginning, but this is where everything starts.
Yeah, questions that I would ask real quick, like, where does this take place? Where was it made? Like, which country was this? Oh, okay, my bad. The movie takes place. China. Yeah, the movie takes place in China, and it was produced in Hong Kong.
Gotcha.
So, yes. All right.
Anyway, so we start off with Ip Man. He's eating dinner with his family, and someone knocks on his door, and it's this dude. I just know him as Master Liu.
Master
I don't know his
Liu.
name.
Yeah.
He knocks on the door. He's basically like, I want to fight Ip Man because I want to show him that I'm great at martial arts and can beat him.
Yeah.
And so Ip Man's like, cool, but like I'm with my family right now, so you're gonna have to wait. And so he's like, you know what? I'll wait as long as you need to. So they're eating dinner. He's like, well, might as well join us. Come eat some dinner with us. So they eat dinner. They're chilling. They're, finishing up their snacks and things, smoking a little bit. And then he's like, all right, ready to fight? Let's fight. And my first thought was like, they're going to fight on an empty stomach. Like, I would literally vomit.
You mean on a full stomach?
Sorry, on a full stomach. I would literally vomit. Like, that'd be the worst. But then they start fighting. And immediately I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, I love to watch martial arts. It's so wild. It's like this crazy dance that's just so perfect and so sharp. And I'm like, how do they move so fast? How do they move with such sharpness, such preciseness? They hit in like all these precise areas. It's just mesmerizing.
And that's why they call it martial arts.
Yeah.
Like it is
an art form.
Yeah, it's choreographed. It's a dance.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so I was like, wow, this is already such a great movie. And so Ip Man wins the fight. And this was a private fight. So it was like, whatever happens here, it stays in this room. However, there's a kid that's outside the window because his kite flew into Ip Man's tree, which like people just are always at his house, really, just watching him.
It's not really properly explained, but like you look at his house and it's like Ip Man has money. Or like maybe it's just like inherited wealth, generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Did we explain what year it was? It's 1935. There you go.
So.
But in the name of the town is it Foshan?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, so this kid's outside and he watched this whole fight. So he runs into the town. And he tells everyone, like, Ip Man beat Master Liu. Like, it was a crazy fight. He got beat, yada, yada.
And this is kind of significant because the town that they live in has
so many
schools for martial arts. It's a very popular town for martial artists to open their own schools and
like for these masters
teach students.
For these masters of the schools, it's like super important to like have a good reputation so people attend your school, so people want to learn from you.
Exactly.
Because if they find out you suck, they're not going to want to like learn from you.
If they find out that Master Liu had a fight with Ip Man and lost, then people aren't going to want to study with Master Liu. They're going to be like, well, he lost to someone else, so I got to go study with this other guy that beat him. Yeah. Yeah. And each of these masters teaches their own style of martial arts. Yeah. So
at this point, the kid goes into the town and he's telling everyone all this stuff. Meanwhile, Ip Man is meeting with a guy, and the guy's talking about his plans to start a cotton mill.
Yes, this is Quan, his friend.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I think he wanted Ip Man to like be a part of the business. Was that correct? And then Ip Man was like, "No, I'm good."
He wanted an investment to start a cotton mill.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he knows his buddy Ip Man's got money. And Ip Man's like, I don't know anything about business. And he's like, that's cool, just give me money. And he's like, all right.
Okay, gotcha. I like missed that whole part.
Yeah.
So he's having this chat with him, going back to this kid and him spreading all of this rumors. So Master Liu comes back into the town, and everyone's like, we heard you got beat. Like, that's trash. And so then he goes to the kid and he's like, what have you done? Like, that was a private fight. Like, why are you telling all these people? Why are you like ruining my reputation? And it caused this big like ruckus. And so they end up the kid goes to Ip Man while he's in this meeting, and he's like, Ip Man, like, you beat Master Liu, like, tell him. And Ip Man's like not saying anything because he's like, I'm just gonna like keep quiet. Because I don't want to ruin this dude's like reputation.
He understands what's on the line for Master Liu.
Yeah. And so then the kid's brother is like upset and is like, why are you spreading lies? Why are you telling lies? Like, clearly Master Lee was great and like probably beat him and yada yada. And then the police come, and the police are, it's kind of just like, you all disperse, like you all are doing the most, go away. Like stop all this ruckus.
He's also like, martial arts, I have a gun.
Yeah. So that kind of resolves that whole situation. So meanwhile,
well, okay, so the kid with the kite who saw the fight and started spreading the rumors, he gets embarrassed by his brother.
Yeah.
Lynn is his brother's name. Lynn's a good guy.
Yeah.
Lynn like embarrasses him in the crowd by like pantsing him.
Yeah.
And then, the kid like kind of runs off. And that's, the crowd kind of disperses. And what happens after that?
So we kind of cut and we see these group of guys from out of town who roll up into town. And they're basically like, we're going to challenge every single... Well, it's really this one dude who's like the leader of them.
His name is Jin.
Yes. He's like, I'm going to challenge every single master from every single school on this whole street.
Mm-hmm.
And his goal is to display his power and how good he is so that he can open up a school and everyone will want to come to him and he'll make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so he literally just rips through the town beating people up. Mm-hmm. And it's... What? And I literally was like, how did these like actors not die? Because it looks like he's beat. It looks like he's really like hitting them hard, and like it's some of the smacks. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how are they not dead? How did they do this?
They could like, is it undercranking, overcranking? They could speed up the footage to make it look faster, and maybe there's like a tiny bit of that. But
there are some of those shots.
There's some of these shots where
they're
it's like
up close and they're like
that dude just took a full foot to the face.
Yes. And I'm like, I would love to see the behind the scenes footage of how they made this movie, because like I'm stunned. I have no words.
I do have a note that one of the actors, we haven't been introduced to this character yet, but one of the actors who plays this character suffered a mild concussion from being hit like really hard in the head 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And also Donnie Yen, the guy that plays Ip Man in the movie, Donnie Yen is an amazing martial artist, amazing action actor. He apparently he had a masseuse on set because he couldn't raise his right shoulder from an injury.
Yeah. I mean, I for sure expected there to be some injuries.
There are injuries happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I would imagine everybody would just be like injured in this whole movie.
If I recall correctly, and I forgot to look this up, but I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. How it works in these like Hong Kong films for like stunt people is that you only get paid for the amount of footage that you're in gets actually used in the movie. So
that sucks.
Yeah, you're like, you could be on set and film something and it's like not that good and they don't use it and you don't get paid. So that's, I mean, it's like kind of like low key problematic because then that's
like
why
all this labor, and then like if for some reason none of that gets put in, you just wasted so many hours of no pay.
True. So then your only motivation is to then film the gnarliest thing of you taking the most
risk
incredible
your life
hit so that they'll put it in the movie and you'll get paid. Yeah.
That's terrible. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. But as a result, we got some great shots.
Oh my gosh. So anyways, these dudes, this one dude in particular, but he has his little posse with him.
Jin. Yeah. The out-of-towner.
Yeah. He beats everybody pretty much. And so the last person for him to fight is, the greatest of them all, Ip Man.
And he's at home hanging out with his kid.
His family, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and
wife.
By the way, yes, his wife, despises him at this point because he's spending all his time fighting people and, not paying attention to her, not paying attention to their kid. His kid, draws a little picture and, goes to show him. And he's like, not now. I'm in the middle of a fight with this dude. I'm teaching or whatever,
Yeah.
And so she just glares at him. And it's the best
She
glare.
has nailed
Yes, it's perfection.
the art of the glare.
I'm like, I want that power.
It's piercing. It's like, ooh.
Yes, you can feel all her rage.
Yeah.
Just in that look. And so Jin goes to Ip Man and he's like, boom, 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 open up the door. Door opens. I'm trying to fight you. And he explains, like, I want to have power and I want to get a school. And my favorite line is like, Ip Man's like, well, you don't need to fight me for that. Just find a good location.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. And so he's like, no, I want to fight. Let's fight.
And this is the part where the police captain who was in the earlier scene, his name's Lee, he kind of shows up and he gets everybody that's not Jin and his small crew out of the house to, like, don't watch the fight, but he also kind of whispers to it, man, like, you need to restore our honor because, like, these guys
they just
like
beat everybody.
They just whooped everyone. Yeah.
And now it looks like we suck.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know what? Fine, we'll fight. So they start the fight in the house.
Oh yeah.
And immediately I'm like, why are they fighting in the house? Because, like, vases are breaking, things around them are breaking. I'm like, why are they fighting in the house? Literally, as soon as I thought that, his son rides his, like, little tricycle, and he's like, Mom says you're gonna break everything in the house. And then just, like,
he just leaves. Yeah.
And then just rides off. And it's so cute and so funny. But nonetheless, they continue the fight, and Ip Man whoops him. Yeah.
Hard.
He does. Yeah, he does it.
The guy even, like, whips out his big sword.
Yeah.
And
like, Ip Man has, like, a stick with a feather on the end.
Yeah, he's got, like, a duster or something.
And, like, beats him with that. Beats him with the little stick.
Yep.
And so
he, like, whacks him on the ear.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so Jen's like, dang. And he leaves. And everyone's like, woo, he won. Like, we're cool. So then all of a sudden, this is like the craziest cut ever. We cut and, like, war has happened.
Yup.
And Japan has infiltrated China. Ip Man is now homeless because they have taken over his estate.
Yes. This is, 1937, I believe?
Yeah. And so now all the people that were in this town are, like, severely impoverished. Like, the Japanese army is just, like, walking through the streets. They have these big guns. And everyone's just struggling. It's like a depression, like the Great Depression.
There's a part where it says that, like, the population of the town goes from, like, 300,000 to, like, 70,000.
Yeah. So it's just a bad time.
Bad stuff. Yeah.
And so we see Ip Man, who was once this, like, wealthy guy, is now, like, living in this, like, really small space with his wife and kid. They don't have much. They barely have any food.
Everything's gray.
Yeah. This is where the movie becomes gray, grayscale.
For the rest of the movie.
Yeah. And Ip Man is, like, looking for a job. He's like, I need to find a job so that I can, like, bring some food home to my family. Like, we're not eating anything. And so he ends up getting a job, like, shoveling coal, like digging coal or something like that.
Yeah,
something
just
like
like
that.
moving piles of coal from one place to another.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really know where the coal's going. And so he gets a job there where he finds the kid. So earlier in the movie, the kid who with the kite, his brother Lynn. There you go. Sorry, I should have written all these names down. I didn't.
It's all good. I got them in my head.
So
he bumps into Lynn.
And now they're co-workers, for lack of a better term.
Co-workers.
For lack of a better term.
Co-laborers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't think of a better word for it. So they're working together, and and all of a sudden, one day when they're working,
Lee, the police captain from earlier in the movie.
Yeah, the police captain comes up, and he's working for the Japanese people who are, like, in charge. The, like, I guess main general person.
Well, whatever. Yeah, there's like a general, and then there's like his lackey. For lack of a better, I don't know his title. I'm gonna go with colonel.
Okay.
So his colonel. Yeah. There's a colonel.
Yeah. So the police officer and the colonel was with him, I think.
Yeah, Lee is with the colonel, and Lee is acting as an interpreter. That's why he's working for them, because he speaks Japanese as well as Chinese.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he comes up, and he's...
And
and
they're speaking Cantonese, by the way.
Yeah. By the way, all the people who are working in this, like, coal area... they were all previous martial arts, like masters and things like that. Like, they're all really good martial artists.
Yeah.
And Lin explains to Ip Man, because he's like, oh, like, these are all people from our town. Like, these are people we know. And he's like, yeah, the guy who owns this, like, wanted to hire martial artists.
Because he used to practice martial arts. So,
Yeah. So, what was the policeman's name again?
Lee.
So, Lee comes up, and he's like, we need some volunteer martial artists to come fight for
bags of rice.
Yeah, for bags of rice. And it's basically just for entertainment for the
Japanese
general
soldiers.
Yeah. And so, Lin was like, I'll go. And Ip Man's like, what the heck? I'm not going.
Yeah, he's like, Lin, don't go. Like, just drop it. Like, don't. Keep your head down. It's dangerous.
Yeah. But Lin's like, no, I'm going to go, and I'm going to fight. So he follows them, and they show up to a place to do fighting.
Yeah, there's like a fighting mat.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, just like a mat for training on and fighting on, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of like Japanese martial artists there who are, like in their gi. And we see... Who do we see when we get there?
Master Liu from
earlier in the movie, who had his reputation almost ruined.
Yeah. So Master Liu is fighting and wins, and he gets a bag of rice, and he's like, got my rice, and just like walks off.
And so it's like, oh, that's what he's been doing.
Yep. And so men will go into the thing and they'll fight, and so Lin goes into the place to fight these Japanese martial artists.
Well, so what happens is the General Miura is his name. The general is like looking down and watching all of this happen because he's also a martial artist.
Yeah.
And he says to the colonel, like, I want to fight some people, so give me 3 people to fight. And that's when Lin volunteers.
Okay.
Lin and 2 other guys volunteer to fight General Miura, and
and
immediately
Lin gets beat to the point of death. Unfortunately,
I mean, General Miura he just starts kicking butt immediately, and the 2 guys that are not Lin look at each other and are like, nope.
Yeah.
He's too strong. And Lin's like, no, I'm going to fight him. And he gets basically beaten to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens, and cut back to Ip Man. And he shows up to get coal, like do his job. And
do his moving coal from one place to another job.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, Lin's not here. Like, he just is gone. Like, where did he go? He disappeared. He never came back after fighting. Yeah.
Also, Lin had told him, like, before he left, find my tin box. I want to give it to my brother once I find him. Because Lin doesn't know where his brother went after he pantsed him, like, way earlier in the movie. So he hasn't been able to find him, and now, like, the Japanese soldiers are here, but he has this tin box and he wants to give it to him. But then he, like, goes off and he, gets beaten to death. And the next day, Ip Man finds the tin box. But then he's like, where's Lin?
And so policeman comes back and he's like, we need people to fight. We need more. Sorry,
I think it's misleading to call him policeman because he is not a policeman anymore. He is an interpreter, and his name is Lee, and he used to be a policeman.
So sorry, Lee. I'm trying to remember everyone's names. Okay, he comes back. He's like, we need more people to fight. Who wants to volunteer? So Ip Man's like, well, I'm gonna go because where the heck did Lin go? And so Ip Man goes. And he sees what's going on now. He sees that people are fighting. They're trying to get bags of rice. And the Japanese general is just like watching. And it's like really wild. And so Master Liu is back and he's fighting.
Yep.
And he's like, I want to fight. Was it 3 people or?
Well, so Master Liu wins a fight. And then he requests to fight 3 more people. But it's implied like he wants to do 3 more fights to get 3 more bags of rice. But they're like, okay, cool. And they instead set it up so that he's fighting 3 people at once.
Yes.
So, which is unfair.
Yeah. So he starts this fight, and unfortunately,
I mean, he loses.
Yeah, he loses. And the colonel.
Yeah.
Just like shoots him in the head.
Yeah, like he loses his. Yikes.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Okay.
He loses his fight.
Can I explain? Okay.
Okay.
So he loses his fight, right? He loses the fight with the 3 people, but he had this bag of rice from the fight that he had won earlier.
Yeah.
So he is like, man, I lost, but I got this one bag of rice. He goes to grab it, and the colonel just shoots him.
Yeah.
And the general's upset that the colonel just shot him, and he's like, what the heck? Why did you just shoot him? And he's like, well, he lost, but he was trying to take his rice. Like,
yeah.
What the heck? And the general's like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah, he's upset. He's like, this is a sacred place.
Yeah,
and you're bringing your weapon out here. Like, don't do that. Yeah.
So he's like, don't ever do that again. And Man is obviously distraught because he just witnessed his friend die.
And he's seeing all of this happen, and he doesn't know what happened to Lynn. So he's like, did Lynn get beaten to death? Master Lu just got shot.
Yeah. So
and is now dead.
Yeah. So Man's
bleeding on his bag of rice.
Yeah. So,
relevant for later.
So, but like not even relevant.
It's not really. Necessary. It's not necessary. Yeah. But I have the first note that I wrote is the blood rice. So I do want to talk about the blood rice.
The blood rice. So
later.
Man's livid, and he's like, "Open up these gates! I'm fighting everyone." And so,
well, he's like, I want to. He's like, let me fight.
Yeah.
And then he makes a demand to fight 10 men.
Yes. So he comes onto the mat. He's like, fighting 10 men, bring them to me. He beats every single one of them, obviously, because he's Man. And it's
great. And he's like machine gun punching everybody.
Oh my God. I will forever think about this man's legs that he just like snapped. Oh, it was so gross. I was like, and I
stepped on one dude's face.
I know. I had asked you at the beginning of the movie, I was like, do people ever use martial arts to like kill people? And I was like, I've only seen it in the sense of like you practice and it's like this dance. I've never seen it used like lethally.
To which I responded, yes. Like, that's like asking if a human being is capable of killing another human being, to which the answer is obviously yes. So yes, you can use martial arts to kill someone.
I wonder if any like actual murder of a person, if it was like murdered due to like martial arts.
I don't know. We've got like millions of years of human civilization history. I'm 100% sure that at some point in history, that happened.
I just never hear of it. I mean, in modern day, I wonder if like.
Well, that's because like we have weapons and it's not necessary to learn how to fight anymore.
Yeah. I don't know, but I would love to take a martial arts class. I mean, I took a self-defense class, but that is nothing.
When I first watched this movie in I think 2012.
Yeah,
and immediately my brother
put me in martial arts.
My brother and I started watching Wing Chun YouTube videos because Wing Chun is what Man practices. He's the only person that practices Wing Chun in the movie. And so, we started looking up like some Wing Chun.
I don't think you want to learn from YouTube videos.
We were watching videos that were made by, I believe it was Man's eldest son. So,
wow. I still wouldn't try to learn self-taught at home. That's how you end up injured.
YouTube videos. No. But we're not like fighting each other. It's like practicing the forms following a video. Okay. What?
I mean, I thought you were like watching.
What, you think you just learn martial arts by fighting other people?
No, that's why I said because I thought you were saying y'all were just like trying to fight each other. I was like, that's how you need to learn it.
We like stood next to each other. We got into our stances and we watched the videos and we followed along.
Oh, okay.
It's like doing yoga.
Well, I thought you meant you were watching like fights and then trying to redo those fights.
No,
that's not safe.
No. But like we would do that sometimes for fun.
That's not safe.
Well, we're not like it's not like serious, It's like you're practicing,
Yeah. Anyway, so he fights all these people.
Just
he wins.
For fun.
He wins. They like throw him 10 bags of rice because they're like, you beat the 10 people, you get a bunch of rice. And he's like, forget your rice. I don't want your rice. Like, I did this for my friend. Like, you all killed him, and I'm upset.
Yeah.
I don't want your stupid rice. And so he goes and he takes the blood rice that was Master Liu's that he bled on.
Yeah.
And he leaves with that rice.
I mean, it is. I feel like it's semi-significant that the general asks, like, "Who are you?" And Lee, as the interpreter, asks Ip Man, like, he wants to know your name. And Ip Man says, "I'm just a Chinese man." And then the music's like, boom, boom. And I mean, and then Lee tells the general, like, his name's Ip Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he takes the blood rice to Master Liu's family.
Yeah.
And they're like crying.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, homie, you just won 10 bags of rice.
Yes.
All you can do, you can't even feed your own family this 10 bags of rice. You're just going to go give Master Liu's family this
blood rice that they don't want. It has blood all over it. I had literally written in my notes, I was like, I get the significance of that moment. Symbolic. However, your like wife and child are starving. Like, at least take one of the bags of rice.
Yeah.
So instead of giving his wife because he didn't bring home any of those bags of rice, he gives his wife this nasty potato that he had kept in his pocket this whole day, sat on the floor when he was fighting.
It's like half eaten too.
Yeah. Sat on the floor while he was fighting, picked up after he fought, and now his wife's supposed to eat this floor potato?
Yes, because that's all the food they have.
And also, their relationship is much better now.
Yes.
Because he has no choice but to, like, spend time with her and the child. And she's like, oh, you're giving us attention now. I love you. Which is like, dang. It took literally a war for him to pay attention to them.
Well, what can you do?
Yeah. So we cut and what's his name? The dude from out of town? Jin is back. Jin is back with what's the guy with the kite?
I don't know his name.
Oh, the guy.
Kite guy.
Yeah. He's back with the guy with the kite. The guy with the kite is now part of his crew.
Yep.
And they come into town and they threaten to take over the cotton mill.
Yes. So we forgot to cover this, but after the Japanese invade, Ip Man does bump into his buddy Quan, whose business, his cotton mill business, he had like helped fund, right?
Yeah.
Quan kind of shows him what happened with his investment, and he's running a cotton mill. And so then Jin steals some of the cotton mill's goods and then goes to the cotton mill and says, like, pay me back for the goods I just stole.
Yeah.
To which Quan says, we haven't sold anything, so we actually have no money.
Yeah. And so he just he starts to beat up, what's the guy's name that you just
Quan?
said? Quan.
Yeah, Jin starts beating up Quan.
Yeah. Jin starts beating up Quan, and what's the kid's name that's with Quan? That's
his son. I don't know his son's name, but
yeah, he starts beating up his son and Quan and his son. And his son runs off to Ip Man and is like, please help. Jin is beating up my dad.
Yeah.
Like, come to the cotton mill. So Ip Man comes to the cotton mill, does his thing, roughs him up, and is like, stop. Like, go away.
Yeah.
And so.
Wait. What?
Oh.
No,
is that what happened?
No. So what happens is Ip Man shows up. Jin's already left, and then Ip Man teaches all of them. Yeah.
My bad.
Ip Man teaches all of the workers at the cotton mill how to do Wing Chun. Yeah. And I did check and found out that it was during this time. I don't know if it was necessarily this context, but at this time was the first time that he had publicly taught people Wing Chun.
Gotcha.
Because he is a real guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad. I totally just made up that part.
Oh, good. Because then soon right after that, then Jin and his posse come back.
Yeah.
And now everybody's like, well, we know Wing Chun now.
Yeah.
So then there's a big fight.
And Ip Man comes to help.
Yeah.
And so they save the day.
Yeah. And also the foreshadowing I pointed out earlier with Ip Man having the duster and slapping Jin on his right ear. Now Ip Man has a pole and he is fighting with it. And he like swings it and smacks Jin in the right ear, and like his eardrum is clearly like burst, and he's like bleeding out of his ear. I thought there was a good sense of like foreshadowing, because he smacked him twice on the ear during the movie, and he's like clearly deaf in the ear now.
Yeah. So Jen leaves after this fight, but the kite dude kind of stays around, and Ip Man's like, yo, like, what are you doing?
Your brother was looking everywhere for you.
Yeah, where have you been? What are you doing with these guys? And he's like, your brother wanted me to give you this thing.
This tin.
Yeah. And so he opens up the tin, and it was his kite. And he's like crying because, his brother's gone. And all that stuff.
His brother,
really
he tells him that his brother's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's your kite.
Yeah. And
reflect on your choices.
Yeah. And then that was kind of that.
Yeah.
So this is where my notes stopped. I think I was just like invested in the movie at this point and was having a hard time keeping up with my notes and not trying to pay attention to what was happening.
I can fill in the rest of the gaps. There's not that much.
Yeah. So is this the point where so after this, Ip Man goes home, and he's with his wife and his kid. Yeah. Right. And then
Lee tells him, oh yeah, wait.
This is when the guy shows up. The colonel shows up.
The colonel this actually happened earlier, I think. The colonel showed up. Oh. And yeah, before the like fight with Jin at the mill, the colonel had showed up to Ip Man's house and kind of like threatened him and was like, "Oh, your wife's really pretty." Yeah. And then Ip Man just like decks him, like takes him out, and
they're all like passed out.
They're all passed out.
They're not dead though.
They're not dead. Yeah, but like then Lee is like, "Ooh, not good. I'll let you stay at my place." And then the whole fight with Jin happens at the mill, and then afterwards Lee basically tells Ip Man, like, the colonel and the general caught wind that you were fighting at the mill and that you were there because they want to find you because the general wants to fight you. And then the Japanese soldiers come to threaten people at the mill. Ip Man shows up and he's like, "Hey, like, I'm here. Leave the people alone." They like then take him in and imprison him, and then are basically like, you have to have a fight with the general.
Yeah. So while that's happening, what's the policeman's name again?
Lee.
I'm so sorry, y'all. Lee. Wait, was it Lee or was it Quan who takes the wife and the kid?
Quan, the businessman with the cotton mill.
Yeah. So Quan takes the wife and the kid, and he's like, "We got to get out of here so you can be safe because it's not safe for you all."
Which Ip Man did tell him to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And he has the wife tied up because she's trying to stay and, be with this Ip Man. Yeah. And I mean, I guess she ends up succeeding in getting them to go to the fight because they end up in the crowd.
Well, this is a significant part because he's driving her away and she's reflecting and she's like, I feel bad because he loves martial arts and I was always nagging him and telling him, like, getting upset with him, but now, like, I might never see him again and he's doing what he loves to do, but it's to like help people and I'm not going to be there. Like, please let me see it. So then they do end up turning back and going and attending this fight in the middle of the town square between General Miura and Ip Man. Yes.
Yeah. And so the fight happens and Ip Man wins and it's great. And like it's like he kills the general. Like, I don't know if he's dead, but like he looks pretty dead.
The guy that I was talking about earlier, the actor that suffered the mild concussion from being hit 4 times in the head, was the guy that played the general. So
dang. So he got roughed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it because that was wild.
Yeah.
So he looks dead. I don't know if he actually was dead.
It was a very like one-sided fight.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, honestly.
Though I did find a piece of trivia that said the only time that Ip Man is actually struck in a fight is during this last fight with General Miura. So he gets a couple hits in on Ip Man, but then Ip Man just
takes him out.
Decks him. Yeah, just takes him full out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everyone's cheering and they're like, woo! And Ip Man's, standing amongst the people and boom, shot in the head. Sorry, that was like really dramatic. Or not in the head. Where he gets shot. He got shot like
in the
chest. Sorry.
Yeah, like upper left chest.
I got too
shot
dramatic.
In the head.
I got too dramatic.
He's still alive.
Yes. He got shot in the chest. My bad. I was like doing the whole dramatic thing.
Okay.
Got shot in the chest. And so then everybody's like, oh my gosh. And a riot breaks out.
Yeah.
And they like basically his family gets to him and, you know, his wife's like,
yeah, they
crying
basically
and
end up
everything.
escaping Foshan.
Yeah. Yeah. So they managed to get out. He's still alive. It's all good. And they kind of just like drive off.
And that's the end.
That's the movie.
Yeah. And it gives a little bit of summary about his life. Like he, let's see, he started like teaching in a school soon after that.
Bruce Lee was one of his
Bruce
students.
Lee was one of his students. He trained Bruce Lee in the 1950s when Bruce Lee was 13, which would have been about 1953. So, yeah, he taught Bruce Lee through the 50s. And that's kind of like the significance of Ip Man, is that like he is kind of like the reason that people are able to like know that Wing Chun is available to learn as a martial art form now is because of him passing it along and teaching it to people. But then also like that he also trained Bruce Lee, and that, you know, and Bruce Lee was like a major action stars. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved this movie.
Okay.
I thought it was, I mean, I hate to say it was fun because like it was really sad to see.
It was very sad and depressing.
Yeah, the end of it was sad. But seeing the martial arts aspect of it was really fun and like just captivating and kept my eyes peeled to the TV. And yeah, I don't know, it's just really cool. I like really love martial arts, and I love martial arts movies, like, but I never like from like on when I have free time just like go to a martial arts movie, and I never know what to watch.
Right.
But anytime because my dad's really big into martial arts movies, and so anytime he would watch something, I'm like, whoa, this is cool, I love this. Or like anytime you have watched something, I'm like, this is awesome, I love this. And so yeah, I don't know, I appreciate when you assign me like martial arts movie, which has only happened twice.
It's only been two, yeah.
Yeah,
Rumble in the Bronx in this, yeah.
But I mean, even like when you were watching all those like Jackie Chan movies, like even though I didn't sit down and watch them with you, like I love seeing it, and so I appreciate when I do get assigned these, because then I like sit down and I really focus on it and I watch it, and it's just like cool. So yeah, so feel free to assign me more.
Yeah, this movie's great. This movie's probably in like my top 15 just of all time. It's a really good movie. It's got the emotions, it's got the action. It's the full package.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions for you. What was your favorite fight of the movie?
I like when Jin's fighting all the...
Oh, when Jin's fighting all of the martial arts masters?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's my favorite.
Okay.
Because it's such a spectacle, you know?
Yeah, because he's like in the town square
Yeah.
and he's going door to door and just beating everyone.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Yeah, that's just really good. My favorite, and this, I mean, it's considered to probably be like the most legendary scene of the movie, is when he fights the 10 men. It's like, woo. Like, I can't believe he did it.
It's so brutal.
It is quite brutal.
And it like makes my stomach feel weird.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there is one part where the dude's leg that's like,
I hate it.
R.I.P. that leg.
I hate it. I hate, like, I cannot watch things like where I like will see like bones breaking, or like even if it's like the crack, it's like my stomach can't handle it. So it's hard for me to watch those types of things.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, as far as like some facts go, it turns out like real life Ip Man was actually a police officer during the Japanese invasion, but this movie doesn't really like, go over that. Also, apparently Donnie Yen, the guy that plays Ip Man, was injured when another actor with an axe accidentally cut the side of his eye.
Ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
But like, he's good.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so painful.
Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about that. But like, Ip Man's eldest son, Ip Chun, was a technical consultant on the film's story and choreography, and Donnie Yen had actually originally learned Wing Chun from Ip Chun, and Also, his eldest son was actually like 12 to 14 in real life, like around the time of the events of this movie, despite being like 5 or 7 in the movie. So that part's like not necessarily accurate, but yeah.
When did he pass away? Like in real life?
Ip Man? In the 70s.
Got you.
Yeah. Movie has an 8.0 on IMDb. It's that
Makes
good.
sense.
Yeah. And which an 8.0 on IMDb basically places it very close to the top 250 films on IMDb. Yeah, it's just a great
really
movie.
Yeah.
There's 4 of these movies. So my next question would be, would you watch the next one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Does Bruce Lee pop up? I kept being like, the whole movie, I'm like, where's Bruce Lee?
Oh my God. Yeah, you were like, so what does Bruce Lee have to do with any of this? I'm like, literally nothing. Like,
because
the
way you advertise the movie, you like, Ip Man, Bruce Lee's master.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool.
They don't even tell you that he was his master until the like last part of the movie. It's like the last line that you read. It's like, he taught Bruce Lee.
But you made a big deal about it, so I was waiting for Bruce Lee.
It's just to help to contextualize the significance of the man.
So yeah, does he pop up in the second one? Is it like a continuation of his life, or like?
Yeah, it kind of, sort of. I mean, so like, it's hard to call it a continuation of his life, because it's like, I don't think the real life Ip Man had a fight with the Japanese general in the middle of the town square. Like, I don't think that happened.
What I mean, like in the story, the guy's life, like, is it a continuation of
a little bit, yeah. Sort of. No, but like, yes. Like, it's like in the fourth one, he like goes to San Francisco. I actually don't know if he ever ended up going to San Francisco or not, if that's actually accurate or not. I don't know how he fights Mike Tyson in the third movie. Like, it's not.
At this point, it's like Rocky movie.
Yeah, it's not.
What?
If that gives you
so unexpected.
Yeah. If that gives you an idea of like, yes, these movies are based on a person's life, but they are highly dramatized.
Well, yeah.
Like, at no point was Ip Man fighting a Mike Tyson-like figure.
I guess what I meant is like, is the movie supposed to be like, oh, post all of that happening, now what's happening?
Kind of, sort of. So, like, Bruce Lee does appear at the very end of the second one. Spoilers, sorry. Like a kid Bruce Lee appears at the very
like
end.
Actual Bruce Lee?
No, it's kind of like a post-credit scene, like the Avengers, you know. At the end of the second one, it's like, I'm Bruce Lee, you want to teach me? And and then Bruce Lee they have like a quick like training fight in the third one, and then Bruce Lee's like a full-on like character as Bruce Lee in the fourth one.
The actual Bruce Lee is in the fourth one?
Well, I mean, like a character who is a guy who's playing Bruce Lee that looks exactly like him.
Yeah.
Is like a full-blown character in the fourth one.
Gotcha.
Whereas he has like a quick fight with him in the third one, but that's more of just like an homage to like, hey, look, he's like kind of fighting Bruce Lee. Haha.
Yeah.
But in the fourth one, it's like, oh, Bruce, hey, hi, how you doing? You know? And he had Bruce Lee's character, the guy that plays Bruce Lee, has his own fight scenes in the fourth one and stuff. Okay. I will say, though, like the first one is by far the best one. The second one is also pretty good. The third one starts to get in like, okay. I mean, he fights Mike Tyson. Just like, it's like, okay, this is a bit different than what we originally signed up for. And then the fourth one is like, there are parts of it that you can look at and be like, oh yeah, fun, entertaining martial arts. And there are other parts that you can look at and say, this is kind of a stinker.
Like, this is dumb.
Yeah. So it changes after each one, and like, I mean, the second one is still, I think, worth a watch. I mean, I'd say it's all worth a watch, but it's like, when you look back on the whole thing, you're gonna be like, yeah, first two, pretty good.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen said that he felt the role was the most like emotionally and mentally difficult that he had played up until that point, because he spent months on a strict diet of one meal a day.
Why?
I mean, he's like tiny in this movie. And Donnie Yen's like,
because of like
Donnie Yen up until this point
in the movie.
Sure, yeah. Donnie Yen up until this point has been in a bunch of action movies, like Hong Kong action movies, kicking butt for a long time. Now he's got to play like frail old Ip Man during World War II. Like,
dang.
Yeah.
One meal a day.
Yeah,
Things
one meal a
actors
day,
do.
and then like training in Wing Chun, specific like focusing on Wing Chun training, and then learning about Ip Man from his two sons, just for like months. And
Wow.
so,
I love that his two sons like taught him.
yeah, right.
That's
like the
cute.
sons were like consultants.
Yeah,
that's
that's
great.
cute.
So I kind of have just like some more like fun questions. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if we were living through oppressive times, how attractive would it be if I was able to get us food by fighting people real well?
What kind of question?
I know. This just popped up into my head. I was like, this man just like is getting his family food, but like as we outlined already, like not getting them food because he won 10 bags of rice and didn't use it. But like, he's beating people up and he's getting food for his family. Like,
I couldn't care less that you beat people up. I'd be like, you brought food. That's all I care about. Especially if we had a child.
Yeah.
That's all. It doesn't matter how you got it.
It was just
you got it.
It's just a funny little question that popped into my head while we were watching the movie. All right, what would you say? All right, Kiss, Marry, Kill. Ip Man, Jin, and General Mira.
Okay, I'm going to sorry kill the general.
Okay,
He was bad.
I thought so.
I would.
It's Kiss, Marry, Kill.
Yeah, I know. You're like, I would marry Ip Man and I would kiss Jin.
I think I would probably do the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid picks.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, and then last question: which is the better movie, this or Creed?
This.
Okay. Dope.
Creed is not a good movie.
Okay,
I'm
glad
comfort
we agreed
movie
on
for
that.
me though.
Yeah. I know you liked it. Okay, well,
Yeah.
what about Rocky 1 versus Ip Man?
I feel like it's like comparing apples to oranges.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They are completely different.
They are.
Yeah.
I think, martial arts is like more interesting than boxing.
Okay. Let's go with.
Yeah.
Let's just change it up because they're just different movies.
Yeah.
All right, Ip Man or Rumble in the Bronx. It's a long silence.
Because Rumble in the Bronx was just fun. It was like dumb and fun. Like it was definitely like more entertaining in the sense of like it's a bit more lighthearted. But like story wise, I'd say Ip Man takes it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think for me, it'd probably be Ip Man over Rumble in the Bronx, but they're both so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Cool. That's everything I had.
Nice. I liked your questions. Those are
Thanks.
fun.
Yeah, I tried to write some fun
I
questions.
like how attractive would I be if I fought
Yeah.
right?
That was like the first thing I came up with. It was like, what's your favorite fight? And then like, how attractive would it be if I brought us home food by fighting people?
That's so funny. All right. Well, I think we made good timing.
Yeah.
It's about time for us to go anyway. So why don't we do our assignments?
Perfect. Would you like to assign first?
Sure. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to assign you at first. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll assign you this thing. And then I realized they're doing like a remake of it that comes out this month. So it's perfect timing.
Oh.
So I'm going to give you Matilda.
Okay.
You're like, what?
No, it's not that. It's how much it differs from what I'm going to give you.
I love when that happens.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Matilda, the one from like the 90s?
Yeah, I think it came out in 96.
Is that the one with
The Girl from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to own that on home video.
It's a fantastic
I don't
movie.
think I've actually watched it.
It's
If I
great.
did, I was like 3 and I don't remember.
Yeah, I am actually very excited for the new one they're making. It's a musical, which I don't like musicals, and so I'm not sure about it, but it has Lashana Lynch in it, and
okay.
I don't know. I feel like it'll be good.
Lashana Lynch is...
She's one in Woman King and James Bond. We talked about
Oh,
this.
yeah, we love her.
I'm like obsessed with Lashana Lynch right
she's
now.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and she's playing like a fantastic. I don't want to like spoil the characters yet, but she's playing a fantastic character. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I am interested to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you know, this past week, the new God of War game, God of War Ragnarok, just came out. Sequel to God of War 2018. So in the spirit of that release, there's no better time. If I'm ever going to give this to you, now's the time to do it. I am going to give you the Raising Kratos documentary, and it is about the making of God of War 2018. It's on YouTube. It's about 2 hours, but it's very interesting. It goes through the story of like beginning to end on the game development and what it was like for the people that worked there. And my brother worked in the QA department on this new game. So, and I just finished that game, like the old game from 2018 for like the third time last week. It's one of my top 5 favorite games. And so I just thought that would be, I'm like in the mood to watch that. And I thought, you know, what better than to have you watch it, and maybe we could both learn a little bit about game development and the stories behind, you know, what you see on screen.
Yeah, that's exciting. I feel like since dating you, I find like game design things interesting.
Cool.
And so
that's good.
Yeah. So that's
nice for me. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Then next week it'll be Raising Kratos and Matilda. That's yeah.
Fun.
Big angry guy and like this little girl.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.